Okay guys, after testing the new Echo CS-490 for about 10 minutes, I'm going to go through basically what the comparison I find between the Stihl MS-250 is. Starting off with the back handle, what I found is that the back handle on the CS-490 here is short. When you have your hand on the throttle and you're in the up position trying to flip the saw, your hand's going to fall off. The Stihl MS-250 is much better for flipping the saw around or flexing it back and forth. Therefore, when I'm cutting with the Stihl saw, it's a much more agile saw. You can see the length of the handles in the back. It makes a big difference when you want to flip the saw back and forth, twist it up or down, and so on. Next thing is the Echo saw is a much better saw for carrying when you're walking through the bush, or you're going to where you're going to cut. I find that there's much more room for your hand, especially if you're wearing a pair of gloves. The issue that I find with the Stihl is that my hand is rubbing against the casing of the recoil. The other thing is, with regards to the Echo's handle, is that I just find that it's not designed quite right for maneuvering the saw. It's probably a great saw for bucking, but we're only testing here for limbing, and I'm talking specifically limbing in a vertical position and not a horizontal position. I find that when you got your hand right about here on the handle, that it's very awkward, it gets unbalanced. Where when I have the Stihl handle, it's a smaller handle, but it allows me to turn the saw a lot easier. Much easier to flip when I'm cutting in between all the different branches. Starting the saws, they're both very easy to start. There is a difference between when you have a throw down start, throwing it down to start it, or holding it down on the ground. The Echo is a little bit more bulky or clumsy to drop start it versus the Stihl. The Stihl is a much easier saw to drop start. On the other hand though, the Stihl, when you put the saw down on the ground, it's a little harder to start. It doesn't have quite the same comfort level as what the Echo has. The next thing is, when I go to refill on the Echo, the downside here that I found, two things. One, as I mentioned earlier, is that the bar here interferes with the oil jug. It's the angle that it's positioned on. So I went to put oil in, I found the oil jug bounces or bumps against the handle, and it makes it a little harder to get the oil inside. Now the odd thing is, I'm not quite sure why, but we have two different types of caps. This is an older style, both of them are the older style caps, but this one here is totally different. As you can see, it has a groove. You can use a screwdriver in there quite easily. And this one, I don't know if you're supposed to just grab it by your hands or twist it with a pair of pliers, but it would have been much better if both of them were the same. And it also, you need a tool to take them off because they go on pretty tight. I do like these types of caps better than here on the Stihl. We've got these new type of twist. You don't need a tool for them, but what I find lots with these caps here is that they twist them on, they don't want to quite feed into the right groove, or sometimes you put them on and you think you've got them on the groove, you start walking, they pop off. I don't like them, they're not very good. So I prefer the ones on the Echo, but I would prefer that the Echo had the same type of cap, both the oil and for the gas. Both saws start very easy. After they've been warmed up, they both have great throttle response. Also, the brake on each saw are very comparable. They're very quick, fast brakes, which is a good feature. Something that surprised me is that the Echo saw here has a lot more vibration than what the MS-250 Stihl does. Power-wise, the Echo is definitely a little bit more power. Mind you, it is a 50.2 cc saw versus the Stihl's 45 cc. One thing that I definitely thought was better on the Echo saw is the little chip deflector that they have here on it. Great idea. It does help to keep the debris away from me a little bit more, especially when I've got the saw up higher. Off camera, I did a little bit of kickback test with the CS-490, and I found that it did perform better than the Stihl. One thing that I didn't need to test are the dogs on the saw. You can see here, bring it up closer here, what the dogs I'm referring to. Anyways, they're definitely larger on the Echo. Mind you, for limbing, don't need them at all. Something else that I included in my test, and that's cleaning the saw up. Overall, the Echo did not perform so well in that area. I found that it had a lot of debris all over the saw, which I was kind of surprised. After you've been cutting all day, and the last thing to do is to clean your saw, you don't want to be there for a long period of time. And I found that I had to take quite a bit more time to clean the Echo than I do when I clean the Stihl. So I've really only tested the performance of the saw and how it feels comfortably, how agile it is, in order to do limbing in a vertical manner. Some things that I can't test. First one is the longevity of the saw. How long will it last? Will I be able to put hundreds of hours like I did here on this MS-250? We'll find out in the future. Also, I did not test how much abuse the saw can take. When I'm carrying it around, bumping it around, and so on and so forth, will it get all marked up, bang, crack, so on and so forth. And the last thing is, that I can't test right now, in 10 minutes, is the bar and chain. How good are they? It's pretty hard to tell after 10 minutes. So only time will tell with regards to those aspects. So my overall impression of the Echo CS-490, I think it's a pretty decent saw. It performs quite well, not quite as well as the CS-250 from Stihl. I think maybe this saw would be a better performance than the Stihl if I was bucking a tree or if I was felling one. That I'm going to find out a little bit later on in another video. But as I mentioned, my main focus for this saw was to replace a 250 or 251 Stihl saw for limbing only. I have no intentions to really use this for anything else than limbing on vertical trees. I have other saws to do other jobs, and I prefer to keep it that way. After cutting for a few minutes with the saw, you can flip it around quite easily. It's a light saw, it works quite well. After starting off with 3 negatives, I give it a positive. The Echo brand is not something that I've ever had before. I've used a lot of chainsaws, from McCullough's to Pioneers to Johnson Reds, Stihls, Husqvarna's, and so on and so forth. First time trying this out, definitely like it. I'm definitely going to keep it. If you enjoyed watching this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It will help me out with my channel to make more videos like this. In the future, I will be using this saw, so there will be more videos about the Echo. So once again, thank you for watching Yellin Outdoors. We'll see you next time.